Hi Internet, welcome to my Minecraft series. Now, you might have heard us saying that Rome wasn't built in a day, so take that into account as we progress in this series. For my first episode, I decided that my main goal was going to be settling down in the starter base so we can make more efforts and improvements in the future. For this reason, I laid down 6 goals that I want to achieve by the end of this video in this board in the following order. I want to acquire a full iron armor, a diamond pickaxe, I want to build a house, create a chicken coop, create a sugarcane farm, and create a wheat farm. Kicking things off with day 0, I spawned near a jungle and some stony peaks. Naturally, the first thing I did was to punch a tree so I could make my first crafting table and my first pickaxe. I then collected some stone so I could make a better pickaxe and also craft an axe. And after that, I spent some time collecting more cobblestone until I had 14 pieces. Then I did the same thing for the wood, so I would have enough to survive the night. Before heading out to explore, I decided I wanted to already collect the seeds that I was going to need for the wheat farm and the chicken coop. So I kept punching grass until I acquired 20 seeds. I then went out to explore the jungle in hopes of finding a cave which contained coal and iron. I came across a couple of holes near the river, but I didn't find any ores. That's until I killed this fish, where I noticed an underwater cave. So I crafted some doors so I could breathe underwater, and went down exploring. And that's what I found, a big vein of coal, and another one. By the time I broke the surface, I realized that dawn was already upon us, and I didn't collect any piece of wood. So I quickly rushed back to spawn in hopes of finding a sheep, and killed 2 of them, and also some pigs. But since I couldn't find a 3rd sheep, I didn't have enough to craft a bed. So my only choice was to keep exploring and fighting wherever mobs came my way. And after a couple minutes of running, I finally found the last sheep. I quickly killed her, crafted a bed, and slept to start day 1, while I was rudely awakened by this skeleton. Once I made sure the coast was clear, I made a furnace and put my food to heat up. Then I went out exploring the rest of my surroundings and came across this big river, where I found a very significant school of fish, which I killed for food. After a while, I returned to my furnace so I could heat up my fish and continue exploring in the hopes of finding iron. I wasn't very lucky with that, but I did end up coming across a couple of sugarcane, which of course I collected. Meanwhile, I also collected some coal, and on the way back to my camp, it started to rain. And when I was back, my fish was ready. I spent the remaining sunlight collecting more wood, killing another pig, heating up its meat, and going to sleep once again. My main focus for day 2 was finding enough iron so I could make my armor. So I crafted a boat, collected my stuff, and went on to sail. Before leaving the area, I explored this hole which I had explored before to see if I didn't miss anything. And that's when I realized that the hole went a little deeper, meaning that there was an underwater cave nearby. So I dived down, and that's where I found my first pieces of iron. I sailed until I reached the end of the lake, walked a little bit, found more sugarcane, and saw another thing underwater in another nearby lake. it was another underwater cave, and this one was huge. And knowing that I needed the iron and that I wasn't being very lucky with caves, I had to take a chance. Once I had enough for an armor, I went back to the surface to the start of day 3. I placed down my furnace to smelt my iron and took an AFK break so I could eat. Once I was done eating, my iron was ready. So I made an armor and my first bucket. Right now, my goal was to find diamonds, so I kept on sailing in hopes of finding another cave. And that's where I came across this village. I was hoping I would be able to trade with the villagers in the future, so I decided I would return to this village eventually, and I kept sailing. I ended up coming across this cave, which I was hopeful about, but came out of it a bit disappointed because I didn't find much. And by the time I resurfaced, it was already nighttime. I collected more coal and thought about going to sleep, but ultimately decided to keep sailing. And my efforts paid off because I came across this big cave. I was confident I would find something here, so I made a quick stop and fought a couple of mods. And by this point, day 4 had already arrived. As you can see by the footage, my game was crashing a lot. So, fearing that my computer would crash and I would lose an entire recording, I quickly paused my game to render what I had recorded. And once it was back, I had already explored a bit of the rest of the cave. Hopefully I would finally find my diamonds. I went deeper, using my water bucket so I wouldn't take fall damage. I fought more mobs and came across deep slate, which meant I was getting closer. And finally, after more exploring, I found what I was looking for. I mined out exactly 3 pieces, which was just what I was looking for, and made my pickaxe. I decided to keep exploring in case I would find more, and ended up coming across a pool of lava. So I decided it was a good moment as any to finally mine the obsidian I would need in the future. I wanted to grab 14 so I could make a nether portal and an enchantment table. And after exploring a bit more and finding some skulk, I decided it was time to get out of there. And when I resurfaced, it was already day 5. Now that the 5th day was here, my main focus was finding a good spot to build my base. And after a couple of sailing, I eventually made my way back to the village and decided that this was the better spot I would get for now. The reason for that lies in the fact that I want to make trades with the villages in the future, and that I also want to have a little civilization where I could develop my kingdom around. I decided to make my house near this wooden path thing, which I guess was a bridge, and started by making cobblestone slabs so I can make the floor. I decided that for the corner of the walls, I was going to use the jungle logs that I had collected, and I decided to make the house 4 blocks tall. But as you can see by the footage, I did have some trouble with the spacing, but nothing that some mind can solve. By the time I was done with the floor, I decided I wanted oak planks for the walls, so I went out to cut some trees, and when I went back, I realized that I had again messed up with the spacing. So I fixed that again and finished the walls with holes for the windows. Then I collected some sand so I can make the glass, and when I went back to my house, my main focus was going to be working on the ceiling. So after putting the sand to heat up, I decided I was going to use jungle slabs to make the ceiling. Once I was done with that, I quickly made glass panels, added the door, placed some torches, and went to sleep to start day 6. Now that I had built the house and accomplished all of the mining-related goals, my big priority was going to start the farms I was planning. I wasn't going to make anything too big because I didn't have any seeds, and I also decided that we'll use the river as one big water source. After that, what I wanted to do was to make fences for it. But since I didn't have a lot of wood, I decided to go out and collect some more. It was already nighttime when I was ready, and I was too impatient to climb down the hill, and that's when I did this. Yeah, that's what I get for being impatient. Anyway, I quickly collected all of my items, went to sleep after again my bed was stolen, and on the morning of day 7, I crafted both a gate and some fences so I could secure my farm. And now the only thing left was to create the chicken coop, and the first step was building the place where they would be. Once that was done, all that's left is the chickens. And I spent the rest of day 7 looking for a way to steal them. But after exploring all the fields I could find, I didn't find any chickens. By this point, I wanted to call it a day, but when I was exploring the jungle, I found one. It was nighttime, so I would have to be careful with the mobs. And I got lucky that the chicken also laid an egg. I decided to build a boat to make it easier to transport her, and protected my livestock from overground. Once she was in place, I wanted to see if I would get lucky with the egg, but no, I wasn't. So I went to sleep to start day 8, and went out on a quick trip to find the remaining chicken. I ended up going back to the exact spot where I had placed my camp on day 1, and that's where I found the final chicken. Again, I used the boat to make it easier to transport her, and as you can see here, it again was raining. And after an uneventful trip, we were finally back home. And once all the chickens were in place, I made my first baby. And for the final touch, I decided to add a basic crafting station to both the seeds farm and the chicken coop. Then, I ate some pork chop, organized my inventory, went outside, and cinematically watched the rain fall because I thought it would make for a cool outro. And that, my friends, was the first episode. See you next time.